Freedom, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the sailing vessel Serenity. It's open-ended mission to seek adventure, explore new places, meet new people, to boldly live life as it was meant to be lived. All right, we're beginning our journey. It's Saturday, and we're leaving the marina a little before 7 o'clock. You can see behind me the sun's not quite up yet, so we're leaving here in the dark. And this is the beginning. I suppose it's exciting. We're ready to be out of the marina. A little apprehension, I guess, because it's something new, and this is part of our move to Florida. There isn't much of a plan B, so we're going to make sure everything continues to work, and we're hoping for smooth sailing. We're leaving this early because there's not going to be a whole lot of wind this morning, and we're catching the tide. And maybe the dog.
Sit.
And we'll see as we get a little more daylight and continue our trip. Snug in our anchorage here in Nandua River, down in Virginia. We did a little over 40 miles today, and the weather wasn't quite as good as we had hoped as far as the wind is concerned. I mean, it was calm, which meant we motor sailed probably 60% or more of the time. We had more good sailing in the morning, which when we weren't supposed to have any wind, than we did this evening. But we got here. We had the day was beautiful otherwise, and first day of our adventure.
Yep, went well. We'll see what tomorrow brings.
Share the good, the bad, and the ugly with you. And today we had a little not so good and just a tinge of perhaps the ugly on our second day. We're here in Nandua Creek on the eastern shore of Virginia, and that's where we spent the night. Didn't get a whole lot of sleep because the wind kind of picked up, so we got a lot of rolling in our anchorage here. Ended up moving from the V-berth in the front to the salon to try and get a little extra sleep. And when we tried to leave this morning, we had a pretty strong west wind, which basically came in straight from the bay into our river. And this particular creek is guarded by a bunch of sandbars with a very narrow channel through them. And we made the attempt, and that's when it got a little bit on the ugly side. Touched bottom once, and we were just not getting through. The waves were very, very high at the entrance, and we had to turn around and come back and anchor. So we're just kind of biding time today. Hoping for a wind change for tomorrow. That it's supposed to be northeast, or at least north-northeast, and that should put it somewhat at our backs getting out of here, and we'll be able to finish our trip to Norfolk. Well, we've got a pretty sunrise here on Nandua Creek this morning. We are stuck here for our second day. The wind's still blowing 11, 12 miles an hour, making again for a rocky night. Finally supposed to abate later this afternoon, and this is not the kind of weather that I want to try that tricky narrow channel to get out of here again. So we will probably be waiting until tomorrow morning to finally make our way to Norfolk. Although the winds are supposed to be very light tomorrow, and we'll do probably a lot of motoring.
Hi, Mimi. Shiloh's either not feeling good or a little nervous. She's kind of a little shaky and puffing and puffing. We're on the bay. It's November 8th, Election Day. We'll see what happens. We got out of a river that kind of had us trapped for a couple days. But as you can see, it's pretty flat out here. No wind to speak of, so we're motoring to Cape Charles.
Yesterday we got out of Nandua Creek, finally. The third time was a charm. We tried in the morning yesterday, and again the west wind was blowing stronger than predicted and bringing those high waves over there, so we had to turn around and anchor. But by late morning, around noontime, things had settled down finally enough that we made our way out. And even though there weren't really any waves, that channel is really, really narrow. We ended up
That's ridiculous.
going aground.
Right at the last,
right at the last marker. I don't know if the wind had shouldered in a little bit more or whatever, but we got off and got out and pretty much spent the day motoring down here to Cape Charles. It took us a long time. We were going against the tide most of the time, so we were making 3.5 knots along the way, so it took us what should have been a 4 or 5 hour trip ended up taking us about 9. And we sailed in here at night. Motored in here at night, yes. Sailing being the general term. And we came in here because for the next few days there's gale force winds predicted. And right now we're kind of in the beginning stages of a thunderstorm. We just had our dinner and toward Cape Charles today, which is a lovely, quaint little town. Unfortunately, it's also off season, so half things are closed. But we're going to hunker down here for at least 2 days, and we'll see what the weather holds later. But that's where we are right now. Anything to add?
I think so.
So we've had the trip hasn't been exactly what expected in the first few days here, unfortunately.
Hopefully we're getting the frustrating things out of the way in the beginning of the trip, because that Nandua Creek, river, whatever it is terrible. Don't ever go there.
Don't ever go to Nandua Creek.